All right, so in this video, I want to share my biggest power pocket tip, and it's something that I think is not talked about enough in the discussion of the power pocket, but I think it's one of the most important things. So hopefully, a lot of you haven't heard of this before, or if you've heard of it, you could use a reminder to keep working on it. And I'll show some ways to really feel it, which can hopefully give a sort of aha moment about how useful it is and what you're looking for to feel when you're using it. All right, so let me start with a couple definitions, and then I'll get right into some ways to feel this that will hopefully be helpful. So the main topic is scapular protraction. So this is scapular protraction, and then this is scapular retraction. Protraction, retraction. So try to feel that yourself to make sure you can isolate it. So to me, it feels like I'm pushing my shoulder forward in front of my chest further, or pushing the elbow further away from the chest. And make sure you don't shrug when you're doing that. You don't want to be shrugging. Okay, and then we have horizontal collapse and vertical collapse. So vertical collapse is the elbow drop, which is a combination of external rotation, but then lowering the arm as well. It's usually both of those together. And it often results in people tilting the disc into the opposite of briefcase. This is, I call anti-briefcase. This is briefcase. So, and then horizontal collapse is when the upper arm here gets too close or touching the chest. Horizontal collapse. And I think scapular protraction can help with both of these things. So when I was showing scapular protraction and then retraction, I had the disc in a briefcase position, because when I have it in this position, I actually can't retract my scapula all the way. There's not enough space. So one reason some people may be tempted to dip the elbow is because when you do, the disc starts getting tilted like this, and it does give you, even though you lose some space by bringing the elbow closer to the chest, a lot of people also end up turning the disc into an anti-briefcase, and then that gives you some space. So if you don't have enough scapular protraction, then going like this with some retraction or not enough protraction can make you feel like you have enough space and you're not going to be as crowded. Secondly, if you put your forearm across your stomach here, and I just tell you to put your elbow further away from your body, most people are going to also raise their elbow at the same time, probably, even though I can keep the elbow low and do scapular protraction at the same time. But it just feels like to me, there's a temptation from this position, push your elbow away from your body, that it wants to raise in addition to me doing the scapular protraction. So that's how scapular protraction can help you keep your elbow up, prevent vertical collapse. So I don't really think too much about keeping my elbow up in terms of just raising my arm. I just think about scapular protraction, which gets it up for me, and then also has these other benefits of extra space and helping with the two main types of collapse. So how does it help with horizontal collapse? Let me show you that with a little wall drill that I want you to feel for yourself, because you may feel something that you've never felt before in the power pocket that could be very useful. All right, so find yourself a corner of a wall like this, or a door frame, or a pole, or a tree trunk. You can do it on a lot of places. Start with scapular retraction, and then put the elbow against the wall. And then don't drive your elbow hard into the wall. Keep it relatively relaxed. Now rotate your chest forward, kind of like you're uncoiling. And notice how quickly and easily you get horizontal collapse. My bicep is touching my chest here. Okay, go back into the starting position, drive the elbow into the wall, and then rotate and try to stop the collapse. It's pretty hard to, because you're having, all your body weight is able to kind of go into this, and your little arm can't easily stop it. So a lot of elbow driving effort, if that's not fixing your collapse, it's probably because you are not using enough scapular protraction. So use scapular protraction now, and then once you've gotten the scapular protraction in there, you can relax your arm, elbow against the wall. Don't drive your elbow into the wall. We're not focusing on elbow drive here. Do the same thing. Start rotating your torso forward, and notice all this space is still here and my arm is loose. I'm not adding extra effort in my arm to stop this collapse. It's just this position of scapular protraction that is preventing the collapse from happening, and instead this separation is stretching through my upper back and kind of down through the side of my back. That's what I really want you to feel here as you get deeper into separating the chest and the arm without the collapse. And notice how you don't really have to drive your elbow hard into the wall to stop that collapse. And that stretch feeling, if you've never felt that in your throw, then you're probably missing a very big source of power and, keeping your power pocket from collapsing. So that feeling stretching through the upper back there, if you've never felt that before in your power pocket, there's a good chance you're not using enough scapular protraction, or if you're starting with it, then as soon as you start pulling, you retract and you've now lost it in your pocket. And that could be a big source of power that you're missing out on. And this, to me, is what I think a lot of people are trying to describe indirectly when they talk about the arm lagging or the rubber band effect, the stretch, or when some pros will say, who throw hard, will say, oh, I'm not really using my arm's just kind of loose. And this, to me, kind of ties that all together. When I do this, I feel this deep stretch. Where's that stretch going to go? It's going to have to go somewhere. It's going to launch my arm when the rotation starts slowing down and everything transfers into the arm. My chest is moving forward and my arm is not. My arm's lagging behind, but it's not collapsing. When people try to do arm lag, they just instantly collapse if they don't have the scapular protraction. And then the rest of my arm, once this is set with scapular protraction, can be relatively loose now, and I can just let it from here, whip open after that. So definitely try this. Before you watch the rest of this video, you should be trying this and try to feel this stretch I'm talking about.
When you try this wall drill, let me know if you feel something you've never felt before in your throw, and let me know if this is the first time you've heard of this. There's many things where if you've learned how to do it intuitively without having to be consciously aware of it, and it's become deeply ingrained in muscle memory, you basically don't even feel it anymore. So I think this goes under the radar, and when people talk about keeping the arm loose, people who do it successfully don't even feel that they're using some scapular protraction anymore. And so the rest of their arm feels loose and the scapular protraction just feels normal, and it doesn't feel like there's extra effort there, but it is keeping things a little bit more engaged rather than being totally loose everywhere.
All right, so with a pulley machine, put it on the lowest weight possible. Be careful with the new exercises you're not used to. Don't increase the weight until you see how sore you get. I'm not a fitness coach, so do this at your own risk. Get the height of the pulley to match an elbow up height for the power pocket. And you're gonna want to stand with the off side of your body facing where the pulley is coming from. The reason for this is because when your chest is facing perpendicular away, the weight is gonna be pulling you towards a horizontal pocket collapse. And that's what we're gonna try to practice resisting and feeling how the scapular protraction helps with that. So then here, the elbow should be pointing away from you. That's gonna be internal shoulder rotation. And then push it away further. That's gonna now get rid of most of the collapse. And rotate your chest to be facing where the pulley's coming from. This can be your starting position where it's not weighted yet. But when you rotate your chest back, keep your feet facing this way. So this is like the coiled reach back position. Now, pull it out a little bit. Get that scapular protraction, elbow up, internal shoulder rotation, and then rotate your forearm so that you can see your palm. And you can work on wrist curl with this too. So now you're just going to uncoil without driving your elbow, without focusing on shoulder abduction. Focus mostly on scapular protraction, and your body's gonna drag your arm and the weight, and you won't need to do elbow drive to stop the collapse if you focus on the scapular protraction. The elbow will bend on its own. You don't need to do that either. And just try to feel this stretch through here. It may look like I'm elbow driving, but it's just the arm being pulled with the body rotation. Also, make sure to be engaging your core muscles. That's going to be a lot of the power. Now, you can experiment with going a little bit faster and feeling how it feels. Just ease into it, be careful. You'll see in the video, the faster I go, the more it will look like I'm driving my elbow across the chest, even when I'm not. Now, if you start increasing the weight, which you should wait before you do it, see how sore you get. At some point beyond a certain weight, you will need to start feeling like you're driving the elbow across the chest to stop the collapse. But in the actual throw, I have not had to think about that really once I've focused on scapular protraction all the way up to almost 70 miles per hour. So I think it's often premature to focus on that elbow drive if you haven't already gotten the scapular protraction down. So here's what it looks like from the back angle. This is where you can maybe see the rounding of the upper back, but you can also see the front angle as well. And I'll do some with a little bit of a faster pace so you can see how it looks like I'm driving my elbow, but in reality, I'm just letting my body pull my arm. All right, so now that you've felt the feeling with the wall drill and hopefully the pulley machine, you kind of know what you're looking for to feel in your throw or some practice swings. So with practice swings, if you keep everything really loose and just kind of spin around like this, you'll notice you get horizontal collapse very easily. So with some practice swings before you're gonna throw, when you're trying to work on this, or just in your house, whatever, when you've got some time, get that scapular protraction and then just rotate and let your body pull your arm, and the scapular protraction keeps the pocket from collapsing, and feel the weight of your arm and the disc pulling and giving you that stretch like you could feel against the wall. It can help to stack some discs on top of each other to make it heavier and get that feeling, that stretch. One of my favorite things for warming up and getting these feelings, working on some form just before, if I need to jump into a round quickly and I don't have a lot of time on the field. Pickleball paddle, I can feel the same thing, and you can get that whoosh, which is really nice to hear. Any other racket will probably work for that as well, some better than others. But this is also where you hear people talk about throwing heavier objects, like a hammer, for example, or just swinging hammers, because it can start getting you to feel things like this that you've never felt before, because the disc is so light, and you start trying to throw it differently than you would if you were having something heavier. And then by the time you start throwing fast and the disc gets heavy, everything's already messed up, and so it's too late. So people do talk about this, other YouTubers, coaches and whatnot, with certain drills. I know multiple people have talked about it specifically, or kind of shown it indirectly through other drills. But my experience is it's not as common knowledge as so many other things in the disc golf form. Like when I run into people on the course and we start talking about form, they can tell me so many, a dozen things that they've learned from form videos, like you should do this, the rounding, collapse and get the elbow up, and, wrist below the elbow, you're not above, the elbow, all these things. And then I say, what about scapular protraction? Have you thought about that before? And they're like, huh? It seems like it has been missed because all these other things are talked about so commonly, they've kind of drowned out some of these other smaller, very important things that are not the most common tips that you hear constantly when watching content about the Power Pocket. So that's one reason why I'm calling it my number one Power Pocket tip. Also, I think it ties so many things together, can help improve so many things, and is kind of like a missing piece for a lot of people. So let me know if it helps you.